Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. You know the song, you know what that means. That means it's the weekend, and it's time for the James Freel Show. I am your host, James Freel, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very happy to have you with me. I have quite a show prepared for you, as always. Got my notes right here, ready to give you some news, ready to ramble. I'm gonna just go ahead and give a disclaimer from the get-go. My energy level is not where it normally is at, which, hey, if there is anyone out there who actually does listen, which is unlikely, but even if you did listen once, chances are not very good that you actually listened to more than one. So, what would you have to compare my energy levels to? Not much, if I understand correctly. That being said, although I probably should have pre recorded this yesterday, like I've done a few times before, I'm going to be chugging along. So, the James Freel Show for today, August 24th, 2018. Can you believe it's 2018? Yeah, I can. I mean, I can and I can't. Time does go by really fast when you're not paying attention, which is something I've been guilty of quite a bit. But before I hop into all that rambling, we gotta start as always with News for the Uninformed. I'm still looking for a new name for News for the Uninformed, because it's okay, but it's a rip-off of other segments that I've heard before. So you want to tweet me or email me at thejamesfreelshow@gmail.com. You want to work for me for free, do my writing for me, nothing you can do that would make this worse. It's already pretty bad and mediocre. Let me know. As always, though, we'll now start with News for the Uninformed. Our top story, the most powerful storm to hit Hawaii since Hurricane Enrique in 1992, is set to make wave, I think, either now or yesterday. Hurricane Lane is a rare Pacific Category 4 hurricane, which means that it has winds from 130 to 156 miles per hour. President Donald Trump declared a state of emergency in Hawaii late Wednesday night. It's interesting, yeah, you don't really hear a lot about hurricanes in the Pacific. I'm sure if I actually did a little bit of research, I would understand. Now, am I correct in assuming that the reason they generally hit the East Coast because of the direction that the Earth rotates? Like the storm is just is, and the Earth is rotating underneath it. I have no clue. I could sound like the biggest moron in the world right now. That's my question about hurricanes. That would make sense, I think, because we rotate that way. Yeah. Rises in the east, sets in the west, which, oh well, I'm boring you people. In sports, Urban Meyer, the famed football coach at Ohio State University, has been suspended for 3 games after a university investigation found fault with the way he handled the case of an assistant coach accused of domestic violence. The decision came after a marathon private meeting of the university's board of trustees that stretched close to 9 hours on Wednesday. So what I understand is it sounds similar to the Joe Paterno thing, but I don't think the suspension came from the NCAA. I think it came... Oh, excuse me. I think it came from Ohio State itself. So that sounds like them just trying to, punish it without trying to hurt themselves entirely, but at the same time, they don't want to make it look as though they're indifferent to the situation. Oh, well, I don't think it's going to hurt him that much. College football is coming up. Oh, boy. But it's probably going to a little bit. I mean, they got TCU. That's the other 2 schools it looks like will be easy wins for them. But, yeah, I don't know. I'm not the biggest Ohio State fan in the world. I don't hate them. I went through a phase where I loved them, and I went through a phase where I hated them. And I went to UC, so, I mean, I'm not supposed to like Ohio State. It's like you got to pick a team. And I kind of agree with that. I think you should pick a team. You can't just like them just because they're winning all the time, although it is nice for the state of Ohio to become relevant every now and then. That was pretty cool when they beat Alabama that one time. I didn't even watch it, and I was just like, dang. I can't believe they... And I was talking so much crap to Ohio State fans. I think that's when I was in the phase where I really hated them. But I'm just like, well, I wouldn't. Man, I'm so missing these opportunities because I complain about how my Bengals are never going to win a Super Bowl, and yet, if I just stayed a fan of Ohio State, I mean, I could have kind of experienced the college football equivalent of it, but who knows? Who knows? Again, so excuse me for yawning. Like I said, that's from the low energy I got going on. But I insist I will power through this episode. It's still one you should still listen to. Not, I mean, no more or less than any other show. But anyway, in pop culture, the MTV Music Awards were held this week. Artist and Video of the Year went to Camila Cabello and her song Havana featuring Young Thug. I meant to go listen to that because I find there's some good songs on the radio that I like. I mean, I don't have them in my music library, but I like to stay up to date with what's popular right now, what's big. So that's it took me forever to plow through the news for the uninformed this week. My stories weren't even that long, but we will continue on now to the rambling section. And boy, do I have some topics here today. That's an accurate statement, despite the fact that they're no better or worse than normal, but I made it sound like I was exaggerating. I believe last week I mentioned I went to a birthday party for adults, which was a good time. It was an enjoyable experience, and while I was there, the person whose birthday they were celebrating, he wanted to go see a movie, so I went with him on Tuesday. And movie theaters, this one was one that has existed for a long time, and I keep forgetting about it. It's one of those fancy ones that have like a buffet at it. They're really trying to get people off their couch, but hey, when a month subscription of Netflix is cheaper than one ticket, I mean, it's kind of hard to fight off the inclination to just say, hey, you know what, I'll just wait 3 months for it to be released, and then I will see it. Because I'm interested to see what direction the movie theaters are going. It seems like it's an old business model, like I know anything about business, but from what I understand, that's the concept of, if I understand this right, it used to be movies were played in theaters and that's it. Before VCRs and all that, it's just like, hey, if you want to see it, you got to go to a theater. And that would drive me crazy, because if I like a movie, I'd want to be able to watch it whenever I want. But if the local theater ain't playing it, then what can you? I guess, well, they play it on TV sometimes, but I don't know when it became widely available to own a movie, when you were able to start keeping a collection. And now it just seems like it's tough to get in the black, making a profit when you're running a movie theater. It's hard to compete because you're selling an evening. People really aren't going to see movies anymore. The movie I saw was a documentary. I wasn't quite interested in it. It was kind of boring. It wasn't boring. It was interesting, but it was controversial also, and I'll just leave it at that. But when I went to the movie theater, the movie didn't start till 8:30, and where I live, where I work, and the movie theater are like this giant triangle. And the reason I went to a movie theater so far away is my friend wanted to see this specific movie, and it was the only theater left playing it, because this isn't a big budget thing. I think a few theaters were playing it, but it's only been out for 2 weeks, and now there's only like one theater left in the whole nation. Not nation, but area that's still playing it. So that being the case, with it being so far away, I didn't want to drive home, put all those miles on my car, drive back out, and doubling all the way back. So I had nothing really to do after work, so I drove there, and I'll tell you what, I ate some fast food beforehand. And, yeah, that wasn't the smartest decision. But then after I did that, I still had like 2.5 hours to kill. And I saw that on the website of this movie theater, apparently they had a bar or a lounge. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe I can go there. If I have one drink 3 or 4 hours before the movie starts, then I should be fine to drive myself home. The problem is I get there and it's not really a lounge or a bar. They have a bar there, but one drink isn't going to fill up the 2.5 hours I have there, and I'd look kind of odd, especially because it was a Tuesday. Someone ordering a drink on a Tuesday in a movie theater, that's odd. Plus, it's a movie theater drink, so you gotta imagine it's gonna be like 13, $14 for one mixed drink. So that decided not to be a winning idea. At first, I went in and I surveyed the situation, and because I didn't want to look like an idiot who walked in then walked out, I sat down at their snack area, then pretended to get a phone call and stepped outside. Real smooth, James. Really smooth. No one ever suspects a thing. It's not like anyone would actually care if you actually just got up and left. But so I still had 2.5 hours to kill, and I thought, okay, well, I know I just had fast food, but maybe I'll go get ice cream. So I went and I did that. And it was this small hole in the wall area, and I got really small ice cream and ate it extremely slowly. And even with after that, I still had like an hour and 45 minutes, and I'm just like, geez, I cannot do any. There's only one showing of it, and so showing up early, that consumed my day because I wound up just watching Netflix on my phone in my car. I watched like 4 episodes of a television show that they were like 22 minutes each. And finally, my friend showed up. We watched it. I had a good time, and I drove home extremely late, and I had to get up early the next day. But all in all, it was a decent evening. But I don't think just sitting around in my car and waiting for so long really took it out of me. It put a damper on the evening. It's just like, oh boy, just sitting in my car, crouched up in this. I had the windows down, but still, it made it tough to sit still in a movie theater that long because I was just not doing anything. But leaving early again wasn't the best idea, but it happened, and move on. Plowing ahead here, plowing ahead. So, this week I am in between semesters right now, and I worked full-time training some new people in my night job, which is just working at the school library. And typically the average shift working there, because it's mostly college students, lasts between 2 and 3 hours, simply because you got a wide variety of people working there, and everyone has different schedules, so they just shift them in and out. Honestly, I don't feel like it should even be a real job. The more I do it, I feel like, I've been into public libraries, I've mentioned that before, and they've got automated checkout systems now. It's like, well, good thing this isn't my career, because for one, you wouldn't do very well, and also it just doesn't seem to be the best way to go with job security. And luckily, or at least hopefully, the field I'm in as a technician it can't be replaced by a robot, or can it? But doesn't someone have to work on the robot? Well, who's to say other robots couldn't do that? So anyway, so I worked full time this week, and it was different. And so since I worked 8-hour days, I got to go in the break room, which I am not a fan of break rooms at all. I've always found break rooms to be quite depressing, really. Just not something I want to be around, only because everyone's tired. No one wants to be there. They'll put up these little decorations to try to raise your spirits. Wow, I am being really depressing right now. You know what this is? I mentioned before, I think it was on episode 29, 30, 30, 31, around that area, I had talked about, I got over the hump of doing this show. I think it's going to keep its steam, because if you are a longtime listener of the James Freel Show, you know that I've bounced on and off doing it. The original episodes are still up. Then the ones that were on Pro SoundCloud Pro when I stopped paying for it, because it's like, why am I paying something to free up more space so that I can do a show that no one listens to? So those are gone. I mean, I have them. I highly doubt anyone would want to hear them. But and then there are these, and like I basically had gotten past on the new platform. Oh, I did it this long without missing it. It must be easy to keep momentum. No, now it's getting difficult. It's getting a lot harder. Eh, it's not hard. It's just a combination of being tired from yesterday, which I'm not even. That's not. Do I even have that on here? No, I don't. But yeah, basically, break rooms have a depressing vibe to them. That's what I have written here. I don't know how much of that I can expand on, because half the time when I compile these notes together, I'm thinking a lot of what sounds good. It's like, oh yeah, I'll be able to ramble with that. Have I really gotten to the part, James, where you're now discussing the process? Have I run out of that many things to talk about? I think I have, and I'm just gonna keep rolling with it, because that's why I'm doing this, is to get better. I know this isn't good, but I enjoy it sometimes. Most of the time, there are times where it can get tough, but you gotta keep moving along with it, because hopefully it will be worth it. I would like to see me have over 300 episodes, and also, like I said, this is sort of just like a journal, except I'm a moron who puts it on the internet for all to listen to. Not the smartest move in the world, but you win some, you lose some. Can't win them all. While I was working this week in the library, what felt pathetic was nobody. The only time anyone came into the library this week was to ask if it was the bookstore, because with the new semester coming up, people are new. They are finding new ways to go about. They're getting their act together, is what I'm trying to say. They're getting their stuff together to be prepared, and everyone keeps asking. I think someone from another office was directing us to who thought like the library and the bookstore were the same thing, because it was just like one after the other. One after the other. That's not a word, James. One after the next. One after the next. So the only reason anyone ever came in was to ask where the bookstore is, and luckily it wasn't. By the end of the week, I knew exactly how to tell them, and I almost got to the point where if someone walked in, I so badly wanted to be like, "You looking for the bookstore?" But I didn't do that because it's a risk. But if it doesn't pay off, you just wind up looking stupid. It's like, no. And you feel like a jerk, and rightfully so, because people understandably get a little offended when you talk to them like you've got them figured out. That happened to me once when I was on my first day of semester, first week of, or first day rather. I figured out I was in the wrong class, because I had my first class was math, and then I had a Spanish class, and then I had a creative writing course. And when I went into the class that was supposed to be creative writing, my math teacher from the first class walked in, and she saw me, and she's like, "I'm confused to see you here, because weren't you here this morning?" And then I realized I was in the right classroom, but I was there an hour early. And when I asked for help, the guy sitting behind the desk, I told him, I'm having a hard time finding my class. And he's like, business communications. Like he had me all figured out. So I could understand why someone might be a little bit offended if I were to be like looking for the bookstore, as if people asking me for directions somehow inconveniences me. It doesn't at all. That's what my job is. I mean, to give some sort of directions. I feel horrible when someone asks where something is every once in a while and it's not the bookstore and I don't know where it's at. And my mind goes into this little panic mode, like, oh my goodness, what if I can't help them? And typically, if I'm in their shoes and I ask someone and I can see that they really can't help me, then I normally just let it go, because I've been in their shoes and I don't want to exacerbate it any more than it already has been. How much time have we done here? 20 minutes. 20 minutes. All right, James, you can keep on plowing through here. Still got 2 more topics. Really just one more, and then a ramble about. I already did a ramble about rambling, but not in terms of how I have it written down here. So we're gonna plow along now. So this is sort of I'm gonna George Lucas what I talked about earlier, and that is I'm gonna go back and tell you what happened before I went to that movie, and it kind of gives a new understanding of how early I actually was, because this killed the amount of time I had. It delayed my ability to get to the movie theater, and yet I was still extremely early. I had to kill all that time, which was, as I already noted, was not very fun. So, because we got like these RFID tags for our parking passes. We wave them in front of it, it lets you in. I had purchased parking privileges for both the previous semester and then the next semester. But it is break week, and I am working there. That morning, it worked. You have to wave it both to get in and to get out, because they keep track of who's in, and are they going back out, and what's going on. Are you going in or out twice? Which is understandable. They have to, I don't know, do they have to monetize parking to actually make a profit, or is that just to keep up with maintenance? I don't know, James. Why do you keep asking these questions when you know anyone listening, even if they know the answer, it's not like they're going to be able to respond to you. Oh, they might be able to. You can tweet at me, at James Freel Show on Twitter. Look at that. I'm plugging stuff. I'm bringing it all around. That's how we do it here. That's how it goes. Anyway. So that morning when I had waved it, it worked fine, and I went to park. Then it was the end of the day, and I went to wave it, and it wouldn't let me out. And I tried 3-4 times, and I had to look behind me, because I hate the prospect of not being able to leave when there's a car behind, because a car's behind me. And how do you communicate to them? Oh, I gotta back up, and that car's gotta communicate to the car behind them, and then if there's a big line, you're totally screwed. But in short, that's how it went. That's sort of something I gotta deal with on Monday when I'm back working at the hospital, because they have my badge. And yeah, let's just ramble all my problems to other people, because that's what they want to listen to. Man, could you be any more cringy? Hey, I'm gonna pull you aside here, James. These people, they are not listening at all. And if you think that the self-deprecation, and if you think that yelling at yourself off to the side is actually gonna help it, you're out of your mind. You're out of your mind. So just try to bring it up a level. Okay, can you do that? Can you do that for me? That'd be great. Okay, I'm back. Oh, like I said, this is not gonna be a good one. I think I've officially lost the series. I believe I was keeping track prior to this. Prior to this, rather. I had been saying, I was down 3-1. Maybe I can be down 3-2. Well, now we're going home. The other teams are already hoisted the trophy up, and it wasn't our year. Maybe next year we'll come back. We can come back next year or next week. We'll just see. We'll get our pitchers and catchers reporting soon. We'll see how it works. Look at that sports analogy. So when it wouldn't work when I would leave, I hate talking over that little calm button, especially if a line develops behind me. And I didn't want to explain, hey, I purchased. So I parked, went back to the office, and I was like, this is actually not a big deal because I have so much time to kill. And of course, the one time I have the time to kill, I get the best customer service in a situation like that ever. And you go into this little nook. You open it up and you're like, wow, this is the parking department. They're clearly outsourced by another company handles all of their parking. And I just explained, hey, it worked this morning, didn't work today. Explained I'm a student worker, and I was thinking they were going to make me pay. Because if you just want to park daily, I think it's like $5 or $10. And I just thought, if that's what it is, fine, whatever. But no, I explained, and they turned on my pass. I had to do that again yesterday, though. It went back off after I was told it would stay on, but that's okay. That's all right. But I hunt down the office, and it was much easier than I thought it was gonna be. All right, I gotta be real here for a second. Um, I think I talked about this about a month ago on the James Freel show about how I know this isn't very good, and this is what I was alluding to earlier. When I listen to this, what I'm doing is not really, when I hear myself talking, that's not the real me. And I found it very convincing, or I was told by someone, if you're not being yourself, audiences can see right through that. And I can imagine you probably can see right through it. But the truth is, I don't know if the real me is even worth recording, or the real voice. I mean, actors do different personas, but I think I have to find a persona that's more like me and is at least somewhat entertaining, because otherwise I'm kind of just wasting my time every week. But it's something I'm going to keep working on. Hopefully get a little more listeners who can give me some feedback. There I go, asking for you to do my work for me. Oh yeah, I think like people are listening to this. You know what? I'm gonna give that guy some feedback. Who has time for that? Everyone has their own projects without having to help me. Oh, James, there you go with the self-deprecation again. Why? How many times do you think I've used that word on this show? I keep bouncing back to it. But that was my week in a nutshell. I saw that movie on Tuesday. I had all my final exams done on Monday, and they went pretty well. I did very well this semester, and I'm excited to get back to work. I've talked about that before. It's everything's going well. It's going well. It was nice this week. I mentioned I had saved up a bunch because I didn't want to hunt down a new job. Which I guess that does make me a little lazy. I probably could have, but if it was only for 2 or 3 months, and I knew I had a new job coming up, I don't know. Oh boy, I still have 2.5 minutes to kill. How am I gonna do it? Can he do it? Is he gonna do it just by saying that over and over? No. I started reading Gulliver's Travels this week. I didn't read it, listened to it. In the first section, it was extremely hard to follow, but the nice thing about the book is you just sort of use the spark notes online to just get an understanding of what's going on. It's like, oh, then makes much more sense. It's hard to just pick up and grasp because it was written in like the 1600s. I'm sure the one I'm listening to has gone through some sort of modern day English translation. Maybe it has, maybe it hasn't. But there was a guy I knew when I was younger whose last name was Culliver, and that was his last name, and so everyone called him Culliver. And when I saw this, I'm like, Culliver's Travels. I'd started like, oh jeez, we gotta shut that up. You folks can definitely hear that, but we are almost done here on the James Freel show. We are almost wrapping it up. That's almost about to do it for this week. Hope everyone's safe out in Hawaii. I want to look up. That might be happening right now for all I know. When I understand people really didn't have anywhere to go because you're on that island. What can you do? What can you do? Yeah, that's gonna bring up the production value of this singing. That's what people want to hear. Well, the theme song is about to start right about now. Oh, come on. Anyway. Thank you so much for listening. If you have already been listening, thank you so much. Don't forget to subscribe and keep an eye out for Conversations with James Freel. I promise it is coming. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next week. All right, folks, take care. Wait, okay, now. Yeah, sorry. All right. We're good. I just sometimes. Thank you for listening. Have a good weekend.